Today we're looking at some more new video that was released this morning by the Unified Command showing some of the progress they're making on the salvage operations at the Francis Scott Key Bridge and removing debris off the Dali as well as throughout the rest of the channel. We're also going to show you some possible new bridge designs here to replace the Francis Scott Key Bridge. So here we get to see some first video of some of the debris being laid down onto the barges from the barge point of view. That's pretty good because we haven't really seen much of that up until now. And there's the claw, man, just going at it like crazy. And just look at the size of that piece it's got. Remember, that claw is 29 feet tall. So that piece right there is probably, you're looking at maybe 100 feet wide. So that's a massive load. This claw is hungry, folks. No job too tough for it. There's no piece of meat that this thing will not chomp down on and gulp it down for dinner and come up for seconds. So we'll start with this shot that we looked at yesterday, and I want to show you the difference in what they've done. We showed you how we have this one pillar here from the pier. So when the Dali slammed into the pier and it busted this here at the bottom, it fell over and landed onto the Dali, and you could see how it crushed a little bit into the bow there. So it was sticking out like this, and it looks like they have since sheared through all of this and cut through this. I don't know what the heck they could have used to cut through this, because when you look at a guy standing next to it, it looks to me like this is about 2 feet thick. So that must have been the mother of all diamond blades that they would have used on there, the concrete cutting blades. I would love to have seen what equipment they used, because I've seen guys using, big diamond cutting blades here to cut through sidewalks and other things like that. But to get through this thick of a material there, man, that is just amazing. I hope they produce some videos or photos of what they were using to cut through that. And here it is viewed from the other angle now. So you see, so now that these two pieces are completely separated, they may just try to drift the Dali ship this way. MV Dali is going to be going towards the left, towards the port side. Remember, 4 letters, port, left, port. And so that's what we're going to probably see them doing, and they'll leave this behind for the salvagers later. So a lot of you have been flooding the comments section of our videos for the last several weeks. Everybody's asking the same question. What's the new bridge design going to look like? Have they started the new bridge design yet? How much is it going to cost? Who's in charge of it? Who's doing it? So all of these questions have been filing in one after another on every single one of the videos. So I finally have an update for you on that. A series of images has emerged from a company in Italy called WeBuild. Now they do all sorts of bridge design and infrastructure design and hydropower type designs and things like that. And what they actually did was, as soon as the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed in Baltimore, they immediately started working on a design proposal, even though without even knowing that they have any business yet or any agreements with them or anything. But they just kind of started working on this for a month or so on this proposal. And so this first one right here is kind of a first rendition, and it's a standard, good old-fashioned trusted cable stay bridge design that you see will go over the entire channel here. It's hard to say whether it's really going to be wider than the original channel or not. What they said a few days ago was that a new, safe, and innovative cable-stayed bridge to redefine the entrance to the historic port of Baltimore City, a key hub for American logistics. The WeBuild group offered to the relevant authorities a proposal for the design and planning of reconstruction of the bridge, drawn up as a sign of solidarity and friendship with the United States, a country where WeBuild is already well established. Remember, Lane Construction is their subsidiary here in the United States, and they already have multi-million-dollar contracts going on several highway designs. This preliminary proposal was drafted in collaboration with architect Carlo Ratti, who's a professor at MIT, and French structural engineer Michel Verlogu, and I hope I pronounced that right and didn't destroy his name too badly. So they sent a letter to the U.S. Secretary of Transportation and the Governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, and the Director of the Maryland Port Administration, and also the U.S. Ambassador to Italy, that they will take part on May 7th in the Maryland Transportation Authority Virtual Industry Forum that took place this afternoon, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. So WeBuild's proposal for Baltimore includes this cable-stayed bridge that also aims to improve several functional aspects, including safety, adaptability, and sustainability. And the bridge will be designed to ensure maximum safety for navigation, even for larger ships. So they're saying that a space that can occur under the bridge should be 213 feet, which is much greater than that of the bridge that already collapsed, the original Francis Scott Key Bridge. They are saying the bridge span will be enlarged to about 2,300 feet, which is 700 meters, with the pylons positioned in much shallower water and away from the navigational channel. Now, depending on how you read what their statement is saying there, does that mean the entire bridge is now going to be 2,300 feet? Or do they mean just that span over the federal channel is going to be 2,300 feet? Because the previous one, the one that collapsed, was 1,200 feet. So if they're talking about 2,300 feet, then man, you're talking spreading those out 500 feet further apart than they were, which would be much better. And then if you look back here on the NOAA chart here for the Key Bridge, here is one of this right here is the North Pier supports, and this is the South Pier supports where the Dali crashed into it right here. So these were 1,200 feet apart. Now the newer proposal would put it maybe another 500 feet this way, and then possibly another 500 feet this way, if we're interpreting the data correctly. And if that's the case, that means they could theoretically be, man, anywhere from this looks like to be about 19, 20 feet of water on the north side. And then on the south side, it could be somewhere around here, around 14 feet deep of water, where they put that alternate channel on the south side of the Dali. So this means, if you look right here, it's hard to see the cursor, I know, but right here on the lower left of the center of the screen where I'm circling with the cursor, this is probably where they would put that one large pylon there in about 14 or 15 feet of water. That means if any ship were to drift out of the federal channel here in the middle and steer its way toward it, it would probably beach itself before it got there. Now I'm talking more of the larger draft ships. So anything really above 14 feet that might be able to cause damage would probably just beach itself. I still think they need to put dolphins up because you never know what conditions could allow a heavy ship to keep going anyway. But for sure, spreading it out, making the channel wider, and putting those support pylons here where the water is shallower is a much better solution. And they're also proposing a wider carriageway, which I'm assuming that means the road itself. And they want to increase of one lane in each direction, the widening of emergency lanes in response to the increased traffic levels on the bridge. And the proposed new smart features will also enable safer traffic management and the use of predictive maintenance techniques. So apparently WeBuild has like 120 years of experience, and they work in 50 countries around the world. You might remember that famous bridge collapse in Genoa, Italy back in 2018, where about 43 people were lost. Well, WeBuild came in and rebuilt this bridge, and they did it in like a year or two, something like that. It was a very short time frame. So I'm hoping that possibly if they are chosen as the designer and builder of the new Francis Scott Key Bridge replacement, I'm hoping they can build it in a similar time. Based on the fact that it's over water, I figure 3 years. So for those of you who are wondering where they are in the whole rebuilding of the Key Bridge, so they announced that today would be this virtual industry forum on May 7th for the Key Bridge, and this took place between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. this afternoon. And so the purpose of this forum that they had was to inform all of the industry pros here and discuss the upcoming progressive design and build, procurement, and subsequent delivery of the Key Bridge rebuild. And they were going to inform other groups of small business as well, like, for example, the DBE, that's the Disabled Business Enterprises. So they're trying to be inclusive to all types of businesses for this, and then respond to inquiries that professionals might have related to the upcoming request for proposals. So this means they have not gone out for a request for proposals for a new bridge design yet, but it's probably coming very soon. They were just having this informal sort of a informational meeting for all of the possible contractors. And in fact, you didn't even have to be on the meeting today to be a possible contractor in the future. This was just an informational meeting. So they had some people there on their panel. Notably, I focused on these two guys here because these are both PE certified engineers that were on that panel too. They talked about the key bridge directives, and Governor Moore's 4 directives were give closure to the families, clear the channel and fully open vessel traffic to the port, take care of all of the people who have been affected by the crisis, and rebuild the key bridge. Now today, the families did get their closure, at least in terms of finding that 6th victim, because they did find the 6th missing construction worker today. In fact, the Unified Command just sent us out the announcement just a little while ago at 5 p.m. this evening. So, they gave more information, like what are they looking for in a project partner? And here's all of their goals. So they're really looking for here qualified team of experts that best aligns with the project goals, technical needs, and accelerated timeline. So they really want this thing to get moving. And they probably want people working 24/7. Yeah, they've outlined some phases here of this progressive design and build. So they've got that charted right here. And here's all of the elements of phase 1. And they also have phase 2 that they started to outline as well. So this kind of lets all of the companies know what's expected and everything involved. And they basically answered questions like, how does the industry get involved? How do you sign up to become a register to bid on the contract? You do have to be able to get bonded at least $500 million. Let me see. And then they had a Q&A session. So I'm hoping that they do update us with what went on at this meeting. Like maybe they'll make that call a public video. I hope they do. Now, one thing I wanted to remind you of, here on this channel, we do a lot of engineering disasters and remodeling projects. So I want you to take a look at this video up here next. And this is a massive kitchen cabinet installation I did with double-decker cabinets on the top. Very, very difficult. And also a 45-degree mounted refrigerator in the corner. You definitely got to check that video out. And when you're done with that one, make sure you check out this other video over here too on how to laminate your floors. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see all of you on the next one.